Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on behalf of the NPA and our more than 20,000 postdocs and 250 institutional members who host them. I'm thrilled to kick off our 2025 National Postdoc Appreciation Week. I'm Tom Kimbis. I'm Executive Director and CEO of the NPA. I believe I've probably seen or chatted with many of you, if not all of you, on our Smart Skills sessions or other activities that the NPA hosts throughout the year. This is my sixth NPAW. I'm very thrilled to be part of National Postdoc Appreciation Week. And it stands out, this year stands out for a couple of reasons. One is that, to me, that postdocs are facing some unprecedented challenges that are causing many some uncertainty. Maybe you're re-examining some of your pathways, wherever they may lie. And I can't think of a better time to connect with your peers at your own institution and beyond during National Postdoc Appreciation Week and after, throughout the month and throughout the year, to turn your concerns into opportunities, including the chance to both improve and gain insights into the importance of communicating the incredible value of your research and science, which is this year's theme for NPAW. Check the NPA's NPAW webpage. We'll put it in the chat for more info on events that are happening this week. Both at your own institution, but other institutions that are members of the NPA across the world put on events, and many of them are open to you as well if they're virtual events. The second observation is just the NPA and its volunteers have a level of activities that I haven't seen during my time here in these going on 6 years, from advocacy to member benefits, from building inclusive communities through our DIB efforts to collaborating on our annual meeting coming up this upcoming winter. Our staff and our volunteers are hard at work in the best interest of you, our postdocs. But today's session is a little bit different structure for if you've tuned in over the last 5 years or so. It's much briefer than usual. It's focused on connecting with important voices from the postdoc community and its partners. You'll hear from our chair, our postdoc office leader and former postdoc, as well as a professional in his very first day of work in a new position, transitioning from postdoc into industry, and a longtime volunteer leader of the NPA, as well as a current postdoc from our own NPA Postdoc Council. So a variety of different voices, each sharing their own appreciation and viewpoints during NPAW. Before we turn to remarks on the importance of communicating your science and research from Dr. Gretchen Goldman, who's president of NPA Partner Union Concerned Scientists, I'm happy to throw it over to Dr. Chris Smith, who's the Postdoc Office Program Administrator at Virginia Tech and Chair of the Board of Directors at the NPA. Chris?
Thank you so much, Tom. It's great to see everyone. And I just want to say on behalf of the NPA Board of Directors, I want to extend a special word of appreciation to the thousands of postdocs across the United States, Canada, and the world who do so much every day to impact society, whether that be teaching or mentoring students at your institutions, leading critical research projects, or producing new knowledge and breakthroughs that will lead to better lives for millions, if not billions of people in the future. The mission of the NPA speaks to how at the individual, organizational, and national levels, we raise awareness and collaborate with stakeholders in the postdoc community to improve the postdoc experience. As an administrator of a postdoc affairs office at Virginia Tech and someone who interacts with PDO colleagues from across the country on a regular basis, I want everyone on this call to know we all care deeply about improving the postdoc experience at our institutions. Many of us were postdocs before taking on these administrator roles, and so understand the unique challenges postdocs face. As administrators, we also must work within our unique and often complex institutional structures to make change, which means change may come slowly. This does not mean, however, we're not working toward changes that will elevate and improve the postdoc experience, especially those in alignment with the updated recommended postdoctoral policies and practices, or RPPP, you may have heard about from the NPA, that was released back in March of 2024. We also welcome collaborations with our postdoc associations to find ways to highlight the impact postdocs make at our institutions and work to coordinate activities to serve our postdoc communities. Several examples of these collaborations between PDOs and PDAs were highlighted as part of a plenary session at our 2025 NPA Annual Conference in Boston. And we look forward to continuing to partner to make the postdoc experience at our institutions better now and in the future. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Azmi Ahmad, until recently a postdoc at Yale. And as Tom alluded to, enjoying his first day in a brand new position, taking time out of his orientation at GE Healthcare to chat with us. And Azmi is also chair of the NPA's Advocacy Committee. So Azmi, take it away.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you everyone for taking the time to be here. I'm truly excited to be here to celebrate the National Postdoctoral Appreciation Week. And as a quick way of introduction, my name is Azmi Ahmad, and I am also the chair of the NPA Advocacy Committee. And as both Chris and Tom have mentioned, up until this summer, I had actually been a postdoc at the Yale School of Medicine for nearly 5 years. So I do have quite a bit of experience being a postdoc. And I know that sometimes, postdoctoral positions, which are often by default identified as a transition position, can feel never ending. And we're often mentored by people and systems that maybe only know academia, but we're rarely told that for every 6 postdocs, there's 1 academic faculty position. However, we know that there are other opportunities out there, may that be within industry, science policies, or private sectors. And I'm personally just starting a new role into industry as a medical science liaison that I'm learning a lot from. So however, in my experience as a postdoc, I know that many of you do put up with very long work hours, maybe lower salaries, and a lacking work-life balance. But we do that because we know that the research that we all do matters. Postdocs are the silent force behind the scientific enterprise in higher education, but we shouldn't really be silent. And having, I think, a collective voice for postdocs within the NPA can really demonstrate the importance of speaking your mind. In the advocacy committee specifically, we actually achieved this through having dedicated subcommittees for institutional guidelines, as well as a subcommittee to address the very fast changing landscape of the public and federal policies. So just to give you a quick short description of the roles that we take, they include developing and advocating for the implementation of the NPA RPPP, or Recommendations for Postdoctoral Policies and Practices, at any and all institutions that host postdocs. We also advocate for the increased diversity among postdoctoral scholars so that we ensure that the needs of the underrepresented groups are addressed. We also advocate for the interest of international postdocs in the US, which make up a very large portion of our postdoctoral community. And we also maintain and expand relationships with federal agencies and other national organizations that have an interest in postdoctoral policies. And we do that by also monitoring for policy issues that are of interest to the community and respond publicly as appropriate, as you may see in the NPA newsletters. So I'm here to say that, you don't have to work alone. We are here to help guide and collaborate with all advocacy related matter, whether that be from those that are just simply curious about advocacy or want to provide ideas, or with experts that have larger projects in mind. And I believe that this advocacy that we work on today is critical for enhancing the postdoc life and the scientific community overall. So in the end, I just want to encourage you all to really play a role in your own advocacy, get involved in conversations, support the aspects of postdoc life that inspire you, and never underestimate the power of your voice. Because I think together we are and will be building an environment where postdocs can all thrive, your ideas can be valued, and your work is appreciated, not just for the 1 week, but year round. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I will turn it over to Dr. Pallabi Bhowmick, who is a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and an officer of the NPA Postdoc Council. Pallabi.
Thank you, Azmi. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on your time zone. I'm Pallabi Bhowmick, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and I'm delighted to welcome you all as we come together to celebrate National Postdoctoral Appreciation Week. As a current postdoc myself, I know firsthand the unique journey we share, the excitement of discovery, the long hours of dedication, and the challenges of balancing research, career goals, and personal life. It's not always easy, but it is incredibly rewarding to be part of this vibrant community of scholars pushing knowledge forward. Today, I want to take a moment to say something simple yet deeply important. Fellow postdocs, we appreciate you. Each one of you contributes not only to science and scholarship, but also to the collegiality, mentorship, and support that make this journey possible. Your work matters, and your presence strengthens this community. Looking ahead, there are many more opportunities open to us, both through the National Postdoctoral Association and with partner organizations. These networks give us resources, visibility, and pathways to grow our careers in academia, industry, policy, and beyond. They remind us that while we may be in temporary positions, our impact and potential are lasting. Of course, we know these are challenging times. Budget cuts and uncertainties in research funding affect us all. That's why we need to stand together, support one another, and raise our voices collectively. As postdocs, we are stronger when we share our experiences, advocate for fair policies, and create solutions together. That's also where the Postdoc Council, the PDC, comes in. The Postdoc Council is here working for you, pushing back on isolation, ensuring that our voices are heard within the NPA and in national conversations. And I'm excited to say there are new opportunities for you to get involved in the PDC itself. Whether through committees, initiatives, or discussions, your voice matters. So, as we begin this week of appreciation, celebration, and connection, let's not only honor what we have accomplished, but also look forward with hope and determination. Thank you, and let's make this week an inspiring one. And with that, it is now my immense pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today's session, Dr. Gretchen Goldman, CEO of the Union of Concerned Scientists, or UCS, a long-standing partner organization of the NPA. Dr. Goldman is an environmental engineer who previously served in the White House and Department of Transportation before joining UCS earlier this year. She is well versed in the nexus of science and policy, working tirelessly as a leader to promote key scientific issues of importance to us all. We are thrilled to have Dr. Goldman with us, share some thoughts on the importance of effectively communicating your science, especially during these challenging times. Over to you, Dr. Goldman.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bhowmick, and great to be with you all today. I'm so excited to be able to kick off National Postdoc Appreciation Week with you all. Give me 1 second to get my slides up. All right. So what is the role of the expert? When I think about this question, I think about how the perception of it will be in the world. So if you ask someone on the street, what is an expert and what does that look like? You might imagine something like this. People think of scientists, they think of a person in a lab, they think of always pipetting for some reason tends to be the focus. But we know that there are many roles that experts play in academia, in scientific communities, in the broader public at large. This spans from science communicators who help make science more accessible to the masses, and includes those who speak truth to power in calling out the misuse or ignoring of science and evidence, and that's been leading to public harm or private gain. And there's been experts who are also activists and dissidents who've leveraged their knowledge, their platforms, and their standing in society to drive action, lead movements, and advance societal change. And throughout all of this, there's always been this healthy discourse about what is the role that a technical expert should rightfully play in society. And in my own journey, when I was doing my own postdoc after my environmental engineering PhD, I thought a lot about this question and what was the role that I wanted to fulfill as a technical expert, given my interests, my skill sets, and my ambitions of making sure that my technical expertise was used for a positive impact on the world. And I found myself increasingly drawn to the policy side of these issues, and I really wanted to see what I could do to use my technical expertise to inform policy decisions and help ensure that our leaders follow that science-based decision making. And so I wanted to get that job. And so that led me to the Union of Concerned Scientists, which I now lead. But on my first tour there, I spent a decade earlier in my career at the Union of Concerned Scientists, where I led research and advocacy on the role of science in decision making. And this allowed me to do things like testify to Congress, speak at rallies, conduct research that was applied to particular policy problems, and otherwise advocate for the use of science for the public good in different policy settings in Washington, D.C. And after a decade there, I got called up to the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy to work on a lot of the same issues, but do it from within government and seeing what I can do to advance the role of science in policy decisions from the White House. So there I worked on some of those same technical expertise I had worked on at UCS, but now from that different role, including scientific integrity, air quality, environmental justice, Indigenous knowledge, and community health efforts. And then that experience over 2 years led me to want to stay in government. So I moved over to the US Department of Transportation to launch a new research program on climate change research and technology. And that allowed me to get a different view and see what it was like to be within the federal government as a career civil servant and advance the role of research and science in decision making within a federal agency. And so through all these different experiences, I learned a lot about what it means to be an expert in these different spaces and how you have a different kinds of opportunities to influence the world from those positions. And so I wanted to use my time with you all today to share some lessons I learned about what it means to be an expert in different spaces and how I think we can all be more effective in our spaces as we move through the world with our technical expertise. So after the U.S. Department of Transportation, came back to Union of Concerned Scientists, now as its president and CEO. So to tell you a little bit more about Union of Concerned Scientists, I wanted to share that we're a nonprofit that has focused on rigorous independent science, putting it into action, developing solutions, and advocating for a healthy, safe, and just future. So we're really looking to be at the nexus of science and policy decisions and leveraging the power and the voices of the scientific community to advance change and ensure that science is used for the public good. So we do that by advocating for science-informed public policy decisions and holding decision makers accountable when they don't follow them. We develop solutions that are based on science and that, in our view, best serve the public good through those solutions. And a really unique element we have is that we organize experts themselves. So we work a lot with the scientific community at large to drive further change and build collective power for change in policy spaces at all levels of government, from the local to the federal to the international levels. And this has allowed us to really work in solidarity and collaboration across different coalition partners and other spaces where we know science has a critical role to play in enhancing the voice and opportunity for science-based policy solutions. So moving on to the lessons that I learned in these different spaces. The first lesson that I wanted to share with you all is to trust your expertise and use it for good. I think it sounds silly, but I would like you all to remember that you are an expert, because I know when you're in academic spaces and you're at the postdoctoral phase of your career, you might not always feel like an expert, because you're very focused, understandably, on all the things that you don't know and all of the areas where we need to learn more and better understand things. And you're surrounded by a lot of other really smart people that are doing really incredible work and are significantly more accomplished. But it's important to remember that outside of those spaces, you really are an expert and have a ton of knowledge and expertise that's far beyond most other spaces that you will be in. And so don't forget to remember how much you do know, and ways that you can really leverage that knowledge and that understanding of the world in other spaces. So I have found this to always be good to remind myself of. And just to share a quick example, in the White House, I was covering a lot of environmental science and engineering work and portfolios in this space. And in the White House, there's of course not that many people, and so you end up having to cover a lot of ground in terms of topics. And so you have to cover topics that you don't have, deep expertise in. But I need to remember that I'm the expert in the room in those spaces, because I know more about that than other people that are around me that are other kinds of policy experts or other sorts of technical expertise. And so I could really use that to make different connections, to see what I could do in the policy realm by remembering what I did know and applying that knowledge in different ways. And so to make that a little concrete, my PhD was in air pollution and health effects research, and I was looking at epidemiologic studies and air pollution measurement and modeling that went into that, which of course I wasn't doing any lab work when I was in the White House or anything of that nature, but I had the opportunity to build out new spaces and groups and really push for ensuring that we did what we could to address air pollution in environmental justice communities. And I was able to connect that to the president's cancer moonshot efforts because of the connection between air toxics, so carcinogenic air pollution. And so by building those bridges and working across technical areas, we were able to go a lot farther, because I could take what I knew in the technical space and apply it in the policy context. And that allows the ability to get a lot more done and be able to really make progress on a lot of these issues that have been challenging to make progress on over years at the federal level. And so the second lesson I wanted to share with you all is about communication and really taking the time to communicate your research. So there's understandably in your postdoc experience, I'm sure there's a lot of emphasis on publishing and communicating in academic spaces with your other peers that are equally knowledgeable in the technical space. And so to do more than that, you really need to step out of those spaces and look for other opportunities to communicate differently to lay audiences, to decision makers, to the public, and other spaces. But this can be really helpful to do so that you get both a better understanding of how your work, your technical research, how that relates to and how people understand it that are outside of your specific discipline, and that you're able to see how it fits in the world and how people think about it. And I had an experience like this, and it was transformative for me at the time, which is that while I was a graduate student, I went to go see a court hearing. It was about, I was in Atlanta, and it was in downtown Atlanta, and it was about a permitting fight that was happening around a new power plant they were building. And the lawyers on both sides were arguing about the emissions modeling of the power plant, and they were arguing about particulate matter pollution levels and whether or not they had adequately accounted for that pollution in issuing the permit to build the facility. And I watched them talk about my technical work. They've talked about particulate matter modeling and measurements, and they debated the micrograms per meter cubed of how much pollution. But they were talking about it in a wildly different way than we were talking about it in lab meetings. And it really showed me that the way that your science, your technical area is talked about in other spaces could be very, very different than the way you talk about it in academic settings. And at the end of the day, right, it won't matter as directly how I would talk about it in lab meeting, because the way the decision was going to be made was just about how those lawyers were talking about it. And so that really taught me this critical value of communication, and that translation of that technical work to other realms of conversation we're going to just determine what the outcome was going to be for the people affected by whether or not they built this power plant. And so really taking the time to communicate your research, to understanding how it fits in the world and how it's used in the real world is a key opportunity that will both enhance your own understanding of that work and really allow other audiences to better understand what you do as well. So I think finding ways to practice this anytime you can are really valuable, whether it's on social media, in talking in real life with people doing science cafe opportunities where you can give public talks, anything that you can do to just sort of flex that muscle and try to practice talking about your work in different ways can be extremely valuable. And to plug what we can offer in this realm, we have several skill building resources at the Union of Concerned Scientists. A lot of these are focused on communication. So if you have interest in any particular kind of communications, we offer a lot of workshops and pre-recorded webinars and other ways to think about where you can build those skills. And these are especially designed for technical experts too. So others with your background. And the last lesson that I wanted to share with you all was to know the value of your work in this particular moment in time. You heard at the intro a few folks say that we are living through a challenging time, and this is an era where science and evidence are often being questioned or ignored by those in power, where misinformation on scientific topics is widespread, unfortunately, and where science and research are being disinvested in. And a lot of my work and the work of my organization is to fight back against that and do everything we can to ensure that researchers like you can continue to do that work and that the scientific community in general can continue to thrive. In this climate, I want you to know how valuable it is that you're continuing to do this work, continuing to pursue research questions and push the bounds of our knowledge and contribute to the world through your work. You're doing really critical work. Even if it might not always feel that way, I want to thank you for all that you do and for your persistence through this work. And so to share a little bit more on that effort, in addition to those communications workshops I mentioned earlier, our broader science network includes 20,000 members across the country who we offer those workshops and skill building elements to, as well as provide opportunities for other kinds of advocacy. If you are interested in using your voice in other capacities, these can be things like informing elected officials to inform evidence-based decision-making on different topics, signing on to different expert letters, and other opportunities for ways to use your expertise in different venues. So check that out at the link or the QR code if you're interested in carrying that further. And in the near term, if you're interested in even more in this space, we have an upcoming event, Smart Skills workshop with the National Postdoctoral Association that my colleagues Pallabi Bhowmick and CC Nakamura will be doing. So stay tuned for that as well if you'd like to hear more about that science advocacy efforts in the near term. And in closing, I just wanted to share a note about the opportunity that you have before you. When I started my postdoc, I knew I wanted to use my expertise for public good, but it wasn't clear to me or to anyone that I talked to how I was going to do that and what it would look like. And so I wanted to say that it's okay if you don't yet have a clear pathway for what comes next or how you get there, but stay clear about what you want, allow yourself to be shaped and refined by what's around you, and see what the world can bring, because we in this space know the power of knowledge and the importance of research and how critical it is that we all continue this pursuit of new understanding of the world for the benefit of all of society. The world depends on it. It depends on you. And thank you for all that you do. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goldman, and to all of today's speakers for your thoughts and your well wishes as we celebrate the postdoctoral researcher during this special week of NPAW. It's also great to not be the only one plugging smart skills. So thank you for that. Yeah, tune in for that session at the end of this month. We're thrilled also to have UCS as a longstanding partner of the NPA as we continue to promote ourselves, the role of the postdoctoral researcher and the important work that all of them do. As a reminder, today's session is a little bit of a different format for our NPAW kickoff than in the past. This roughly 30-minute session is designed for both those of you listening in live, but also as a recording. It will be up on our YouTube channel. You can feel free to share with your colleagues at your own institution, including perhaps during your institution's own NPAW kickoff activities. Feel free to use the recording as a boost in those sessions. I encourage all of you, whether you're a postdoc or you're an office leader, to read through the email you received in your inbox this morning from me at the NPA that captures some of our key upcoming highlights for this fall. There's ways to benefit yourself from the hard work of the NPA and its volunteers, but also opportunities to get engaged. The NPA does have 3 very dedicated staff, but its work is only possible because of the dozens and dozens of enthusiastic volunteers that make up the NPA. It's fun, it's rewarding, and we always have new projects, always have new initiatives to benefit postdocs. So we invite you to please join us. And in closing, we at the NPA appreciate all that you do. You make our society and our world a better place, whether you work in the humanities or in social sciences and life sciences, engineering, physical sciences. Thank you for all that you do. We know how hard you work, and we're working hard right alongside you. So reach out if we can assist you in your journey, and happy NPAW. We'll talk soon.